Welcome. I'm Bill Rambo, one of the founding partners, senior coach, and director at What's Next. In today's episode of our podcast, we'll feature two organizations that are run by very sharp, very successful gentlemen. One of the things that makes them so is that they each know they don't know everything. That's why both organizations use advisory boards to solicit feedback and ideas from clients and local business leaders. With me today are Michael Fischer, CLU, CHFC, CASL, President and CEO of Client First Financial of Fogelsville, Pennsylvania, Mr. Lucas Lawson, CLU, and Michael Smith, CLU, CHFC of N-Focus Financial Partners of Dallas, Texas. Gentlemen, welcome to all. How's everybody today?
Terrific. Looking forward to this.
Yep. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. All right. Well, before we dig into today's topic, I first want to give a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Oz, who stays behind the curtain but does a lot of great things, our exceptional producer and director, Mr. Brandon Kirst. Brandon, thank you for all you do to bring all these podcasts to life and do it in such a great way. Appreciate it. So, Michael Fischer, we're going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your firm, a little bit about your background, share whatever you'd like, and then we'll have Mike and Lucas do the same.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show again, Bill. So a little bit about myself. I recently just celebrated my 37th year in the financial services business. I started Client First back in 2011. And the reason I started Client First, I wanted to be able to focus more on my clients. And one of the ways that we did that was by asking their clients, why do you work with me? And they came back and they said, because you give us straightforward, honest advice, you speak to us, you don't speak at us. And from that, we decided that we always put our clients first. So I put our firm together in 2011, been providing with my clients financial services to help them achieve the life prosperity that they were looking for. And as my clients have gotten older, the third part of our tagline is, and the legacy that they desire. We're now starting to go into more legacy planning because my clients have really, through our assistance, been able to grow and prosper. And now it's what do we want to do with those assets and our legacies once we're no longer here. So that's been a big focus the last 3 years. And then I'll continue to be my focus as my clients get older, and that becomes more of into the forefront of what their planning is all about.
And we have done at least, 3 other podcasts. One spoke about your personal approach to philanthropy and legacy. Another talked about the family meeting and the importance of conducting that in that legacy planning approach. And the other one was why you use a coach. And I still don't understand why, but people can go watch that one for themselves. Anyway. Mike, Lucas, I'll let you guys handle it how you see fit. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, your background, and N-Focus Financial Partners.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about before Lucas came in the picture, because very similar to Mike Fischer, this month is my 35th year in the business, and I started out pretty much as a John Hancock insurance agent. And over the years, as new products and services were introduced into our business activity, where we could do, mutual funds and eventually managed accounts, and the business got to be more broad-based to the point of it was a little more than I could handle because my business was growing quite well. So I brought Lucas on when he was a student in college and came to work with me. And over the years, he stayed, and then he left for, after he graduated and went to work. And I got to the point a few years after that I needed somebody that was a full-time partner to me. So I brought him on board, and not necessarily we had the partnership yet. I'll let him go into that a little bit. But certainly saw that I was building a practice. And at that time, the industry was changing as well as to where ownership in our business was starting to be talked about. And I was very interested in that because I've been in the corporate world 23 years prior to that and got laid off due to a company acquisition and merger, and just had made the decision at that point. I didn't want to put myself in a position to be at somebody else's disposal again. Once I had made the decision to bring Lucas on board, to support me, the business kept growing, and he was starting to actually take over some clients. And at that point in time, it made sense for us to take a serious look at forming some kind of partnership relationship, because, again, the industry was getting to the point where we were starting to learn that we really did have ownership and the availability of having something of value. So we kind of grew up with that together, and that's kind of what we're right in the midst of right now, as you know.
So, yes, I do. So, Lucas, a little bit of your background. Now, how many years do you have?
Pretty close to 24, because I started out interning for Mike, as he mentioned, in 2001 while I was still finishing up college. So that was great experience, obviously, and gave us kind of a foundation of a relationship. And then some years later, as Mike had mentioned, deciding to want to have another set of hands in there with his practice, we kind of came back and officially partnered up. And it probably wasn't for another 10 years or so before we really formed In Focus and our entity as it is now. And then, almost 5 years ago, executed a transition plan, as Mike set forth on somewhat of a retirement. And anyway, so it's just been a good run, a good ride. As Mike had mentioned, we have evolved from primarily more insurance-based to financial planning and investment management, the whole deal. So a lot of it with your help, Bill.
My pleasure, guys. A couple notes. First of all, March 26th of this year will be my 41st anniversary. So
all right.
I guess I outrank all of you, at least in terms of longevity, but not in terms of success. These are two very successful firms. And actually, we also did another video with Mike Smith, where he was nice enough to really open up and share some of the aspects of the emotional journey getting into this business after being very successful in another industry and career. And then we also did another video podcast with Mike Smith and Lucas Lawson on creating a successful succession, which theirs has been very good. And as Lucas mentioned, it's been now 5 years, basically, that's taken place. And so everything's going well. Also, it would be remiss if I did not mention that both of these firms, Client First Financial of Fogelsville, PA, and Enfocus Financial Partners of Dallas, Texas, are both former John Hancock Financial Network Practice of the Year winners. And I won't ask you guys to go through that. I will tell you, though, the audience, that it had very little to do with who produced the most. It was who was running an exceptional business from every angle. And there was an extensive vetting process. And in 2 different years, these guys shone through and both got that title. Mike Smith, Fischer, also John Hancock Financial Network Hall of Fame members. Lucas, they sold before you had a chance to get there, but
that's all right.
I'm sure you'd be there as well. Well, you're a Hall of Famer in my book.
Well, thank you, sir.
So, Lucas, you and Mike take what I would call a more traditional approach to advisory. So can you guys tell us why you did it, how it's constituted, how you use it? And I have a couple other questions as well.
Sure. Yeah, I think, give you a little bit of credit as well. I think the idea for creating an advisory board came through our relationship and coaching, some number of years ago. And I think the major focus of our first one of the reasons why we wanted to create it and initiate it, was because of the transition between Mike and I. Obviously, Mike has had, longstanding relationships with clients, at that point in time for 20 years. And as we began to develop our transition plan and succession plan, We've talked on previous podcasts that we had a few years of a runway. And so we felt like creating an advisory board, kind of looking at our A clients and choosing, I think we targeted maybe 10 to 12 of them. One of the first real topics is that we wanted to sit them down and bounce a lot of the ideas about our transition and how that would affect them, and to get their feedback. Because ultimately our view of the advisory board is to use our clients as a resource to help other clients, to help, gather some ideas, bounce some things off of them, in a way to help make us better, which puts more of the focus still on the client and a better experience for them. So that was kind of the first major topic of our first advisory board, was to gather them and explain the transition, explain our thoughts, ask their guidance on, how they would feel, we approach that most appropriately and the best way for other clients to receive that.
Okay. And Mike Smith, how many times a year? How does the meeting run? What's some of the
varies? Yeah, it varies year by year, depending on, are there significant changes that we're looking at implementing? Are there specific situations going on in the market or in the economy? And we want some direct input from our clients. Let me go back to the very beginning, I think, which was kind of interesting. When we talked about who we initially wanted on our board, okay, we made the decision that we wanted, obviously we wanted A clients, and we wanted people who had been with us a significant period of time, so they've gotten to know us and how our practice operates. But we also had a criteria that we didn't want the people that we just knew loved us, because we've got a lot of clients like that. They're very loyal. They're always telling you how much they appreciate you. They're happy to fawn all over you every time you're together. And that's fantastic. I mean, it does make you feel like you've achieved a level of success in relationship. But we wanted the people who would be honest and direct and tell us the truth. And we told them that when we invited them initially to be on board. We're not putting this together so we can all get you in a room and you can all tell us how great we are. Because we already know that, obviously.
Obviously. And now, just a thought came to mind. Michael Fischer, you don't have any problem finding people who don't like you, right?
One of them.
Or who don't. Okay. All right. So you, Lucas, Mike, you rotate people on and off of the board, right?
Yes,
Is
correct.
Everybody? How does that work?
No,
Lucas,
we usually do, maybe a third at a time. We just had a dinner a couple of weeks ago with our 12 members on the board. We had 10 who were able to make it, and we thought it was going to be 11. We had one last-minute cancellation. But we had 10 of the 12, and 4 of those 12 were brand new members. All 4 of those new members came. And I followed up afterwards and got their feedback. And, again, the topic is interesting since Mike Fischer spoke earlier about legacy planning. And that's specifically the topic that we wanted to bring to the table. And the meeting was our intent to move forward with a legitimate legacy planning process and approach and kind of get their feedback on the pieces of that they felt would be valuable, how we would implement those things, the order of priority of putting those things in place, clarifying for them what we thought that meant, and getting their input to what that meant to them. And I'm currently in the process of combining all of the notes that Nicole took and all of the feedback I got, because I followed up after the meeting on the phone with all the members. And I'm taking all that data to put together an outline summary and potential perhaps document that we can hand out to our people. This is one of the services we provide, and we want to know how you feel about this, where you would fit into this, and then take official steps to enter into that process for the people that want to.
And both of your firms have tremendous legacies in the industry, as do you as individuals, and very successful individuals. Lucas, and you may need a minute, but what's one other thing that came out of a advisory board meeting that had direct impact on clients?
I think just the way that we think about servicing clients and reaching them. I think one of our very first client board advisory board meetings, a couple of our technology guys that really know that space, because we were trying to think about grand ways to improve our website and expand our reach, and the technology guys said, nobody's going to go to your website. Like it just doesn't matter. Don't spend a whole ton of time, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, whoa, we were just prepared to sit here and talk and invest a whole lot of money. And so we just, okay, well, here's one way that we thought clients, interact with us and want to, connect with us. But in reality, plenty of our clients just said, nah, just pick up the phone. Just, that's a better way to connect. And so it really is about, leaning on the resources of our clients to inevitably be better for them.
Wonderful. And both organizations, Client First Financial and N-Focus Financial Partners, will have contact information on at the end of the podcast, and Brendan may run it intermittently throughout, but both of you have exceptional websites with a lot of great content and some video and blogs and other types of information. So they're both very, very good. By the way, I don't think it was my idea to do that advisory board. I think it was yours. And even if it was mine, we're going to say it was yours.
Okay.
So,
yep.
Michael, you take a different approach with your board of directors. Nobody on your board currently is a client.
There is
Correct?
one, but he became a client after coming on the board. So yeah, my approach is just slightly different, and my approach came from the training that I got. As a matter of fact, Mike Smith and I both went through the same training back. 15 years ago with a program called Business Health, and in that training, one of the things that they had talked about was having an advisory board, and but they didn't really go into great detail of what an advisory board would be. So when we started Client First, Bill, you and I were talking about, okay, we should get this board, and who should it be, and what should be the makeup. So we went back to Business Health and we asked, what should the board look like? They had suggested that you use people in the community that aren't your clients. And we said, okay, and then how big should the board be? And they said it should be around 3 to 5, because initially we were thinking about having like a dozen people on the board as well. So we started off by having this board. I think we had 4 people on the board, none of which were clients at the time. And over years, we've had some spin-off, and we brought others on. But the purpose of them in the beginning was I wanted to run my practice like an actual business. And so my board was there to really get my house in order. It's like, you need to, have a profit loss. You need to have a budget. You need, what's the direction? What is your 5-year plan? And so the first couple of years, they were brutally honest with me. I had no idea how to run a business at all when it came to credits, debits, budgets, any of that. But once we got that on, then we started focusing on, okay, how can we make the experience for the client better? And we meet 3 times a year now. And on my board, we come and go over the financials, which used to make up 30 to 40% of the meeting. Now it makes up about 5% because we have that down pat. But then we talk about our initiatives, what we're trying to do. And by doing that, when they come back to our next meeting, they said, hey, you said you were going to do this. Where do you stand with that? So we give them an update. And if we don't do what we say we're going to do, they actually hold my feet to the fire to say, look, you said you were going to do webinars. You said you were going to update your website. You said you were going to do all these things. And over time, we get very good, valuable feedback from them, because some things they tell us like, I wouldn't do that. And my board is comprised of an attorney, an accountant, a business owner, a business coach, I'm trying to think. Who's the other one, Bill? I'm trying to think. There's one other I'm missing you. But there's
Realtor?
5 of us right now.
Realtor?
And they all come from different. Oh, a realtor.
The realtor.
And they all come from different areas where what we do in our business may not work in their business, and vice versa. So the back and forth that we have has been tremendous, and I really do value their feedback. And here's one other thing that they've become advocates for Client First, so that when somebody is out there talking about, hey, my advisor isn't giving me the service I'm looking for, they go, I know someone who can help you. And we are now into the phase where we're going to use the board when we do our own webinars and podcasts as another expert in the field, so to speak. So when we talk about legacy planning, we have the realtor that'll tell us, here's what you got to keep in mind for that, or the accountant or the attorney. So we're looking forward to that. And my board really is engaged, and they show up at our meetings, and we have a very good conversation. And we've all become kind of like friends now and advocates for each other. So it's really worked out quite well for us.
And,
cool.
and I've never attended Mike and Lucas's advisory board meeting, but I do participate. I'm not a board member technically, but I kind of run the meeting and play traffic cop and provide insight on some of the things we're doing at Client First Financial. So, and I do recall early on, they were beating you up pretty good about not getting your finances in order so much, because you've always had a pretty good focus on that, but about getting your reporting tight and getting it in acceptable fashions. And I do know they've helped us make some decisions about making things easier that we thought we needed to make more difficult, like bonus programs, incentive comp programs, and some of that stuff. So, what would you say is one thing, same question that I gave to Mike and Lucas, one thing that's directly impacted clients that the board has helped
in the
you
way
with?
that we are communicating with them, because we run by, all of our marketing, and sometimes they think, you may not want to go down this path. So they're making us more efficient because they're looking at it from an outsider, saying, look, they're almost like a focus group, I guess you could say, in that if you were looking for an advisor, what would you want them to do? And that's where they've been providing a little more value added, so that when we go to our clients, that helps. And initially I had a board like Mike and Lucas have, and that was fine, but I didn't do what they did. I put on a lot of yes people are good clients. So guess what? My back was padded so much I had to go home and and put a heating pad on because, hey, good job. And I didn't do it the way they're doing it. So I didn't get that same type of, hey, you could do this better, so to speak, or you should be trying this versus that. Like when they mentioned the website where the tech guy said, don't do that. So I just went a different approach and using outsiders, and they've been very helpful in making me engage with my clients a lot better, because they're giving me here's what we would like to see if we were working with you.
You meet 3 times a year. Mike and Lucas, it depends. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, right? Will you meet again this year, because you just met? Do you have plans to meet again this year? Or?
I think, we want to have enough content and topics to bounce off. And so I'm not sure. I think, as Mike mentioned, it may just kind of depend upon, what's going on in the landscape, in the industry, or our practice and initiatives that we want.
Right.
So it's kind of driven by those topical concerns that we want to bounce off about.
And fortunately for all of us, there's absolutely nothing going financial markets or the industry or social economic issues to worry about. So you probably never need to meet with them again if things are so.
I did want to say one of the things that we do before our meetings is we always reach out beforehand and solicit topics and input that they would like to discuss, what's important to them. And so we always try and make an effort to address those in the meeting. This time, obviously with the changeover in the administration and everything, a lot of questions came up about what do you think the market's going to do? Where are we heading? And I said, well, my crystal ball says. So we had so much of that from the people going in. We knew that would consume pretty much most of the night. Which is not what we wanted. We wanted to address our topic on if we were to go into some type of legacy planning, what would you like it to include? What would you like it to look like? How'd you feel about it? So we didn't want to spend most of the night talking about the stock market. So we let everybody know beforehand that we weren't going to be covering questions about the market because we were going to arrange a Zoom meeting with one of our money managers in the weeks to come, which I believe is set for next week. And we told all of the board members that they would be the first invitees to listen in to the call and be available. And we do have SEI I guess it's one of their top investment guys is going to be doing the presentation. So, and I think Ryan's going to host it. So, so we let them know that up front. When you come here, don't let that be your major concern. If you want to have over a cocktail, ask us a question, fine. But we're not going to spend really any time in the main minutes of the meeting going over the market because we're going to cover that only in detail in a couple of weeks. And we followed up on that, and we're meeting that commitment.
Now, speaking of cocktails, you I believe provide dinner and cocktails.
Correct.
At the meeting, before the meeting, during the meeting. I'm not sure exactly how that rolls. Your advisory board is not compensated in any other way, correct?
Correct.
Now, Mike, you 3 times a year, 5 board members plus me, although once again, I'm not a board member, dinner, drinks, but you actually pay your board of directors.
Yes, and I
for their
do
meeting.
that because I want them to know that I'm serious about their engagement, and I'm just giving them an incentive. I mean, like by paying them, I'm like, look, this is serious. It's not, I'll help you out this time. And you know what? For the board that we have, they really don't care about the money, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Okay. And I just feel obligated. It's like I'm looking for your advice. If I were to go to them one-on-one, I'd have to pay them anyway. So they get dinner, and I get to hear them give me their points of view on their areas of expertise.
Now, I'm going to put this in your heads just because you've been listening to each other and you take 2 different approaches to basically accomplish the same stuff. So if you have any questions or thoughts or comments based on what you heard one of the other guys say, I'll come back to that in a minute. So I'll just prep you. But here's what I don't understand a lot of things. I'm old, I'm ancient, I'm dopey. Why don't more advisors do something like this? Mike Smith, what do you think?
Well, I know in my situation, and before we actually started this process, part of it was just the time commitment it takes to make it happen. Okay. Other is, especially when you're funding a $3,000 dinner, okay, there's the financial aspect of it. There's also, and I'm going to be very candid here, when you're having good success, you don't necessarily feel the need to burden yourself with more, kind of like coaches, okay? You know what my attitude was about coaches when they first got offered through Signature. You well know.
Yes, you said it to me directly.
Yeah,
I don't need a coach. I should be a coach.
So, and he's not making that up, by the way. So, and I think that's part of it too. Just the individuals who have successful practices, particularly, just feeling like that's not really necessary. I've kind of got the pulse. I've got the pulse of the clients, and I know what's going on. And but so ego definitely plays a part in it. And I never said I didn't have a big ego, when it started the business, because I had a very successful business career. And going along to what Mike was sharing, probably the reason I didn't jump in initially, twofold, is as to why we didn't go the route Mike went with other, people that own different businesses, different industries, is those are the people I met with for decades in the credit bureau business. So I had a lot of experience in business. I ran a 100-something people organization. I had to do budgets and training and stuff. So I felt that I knew the business part. I just didn't know the insurance part and the investment part, because that's not what I did for a living. So my mindset was, if I'm going to get input, those group of people aren't going to be as valuable. And the second part of that was, we started out with actually an attorney and a CPA and participating in the meetings. And what I noticed, and I don't know if Lucas will back me up on this, is they very seldom made any comments. And they weren't clients, by the way. But their input level when they were there with clients was extremely minimalistic. They didn't provide a lot of input. And so we slowly just kind of slid them off.
Okay.
And maybe that's not a good reason, but that's just what. I'll let you jump in on that, Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas, why from your perspective don't other advisors? Because I don't know of anybody else that's in my sphere of influence that has an advisory board.
It's an investment in your business. So it can be similar to adding that next staff member or bringing on a junior, or a lot of things that advisors procrastinate doing just because it takes time away from what it is you do on a daily basis, and probably what it is you enjoy doing, which is working with clients, because there's a lot of planning involved in it. And yeah, it's a client dinner. But these aren't my favorite things to do. And that's why, it's fun to still have, Mike involved in these things, because he's better at these things. And, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would be more hesitant to do them just on my own. And we've got a great team, our staff here helps out with those. So I think it's just one of those things. It just isn't your everyday working with clients and doing planning and investments. It's a set aside thing that you've got to dedicate time and energy and resources and money to. And you may not see an immediate impact. It's not like a marketing plan where you can initiate something and immediately see more revenue. It's more of just about, doing what you do better and connecting with the clients better. So it's invaluable, benefit on down the road and how we run our practice, but it may not be immediate.
Very good point. By the way, both of these organizations have exceptional staffs and are very efficient and effective in serving clients and indeed in growing the business top and bottom line. Michael, what's wrong with people? Tell me. Come on, help me. What's wrong? What is wrong with people? Mike, what's wrrong with people?
That could be a whole other podcast. But anyhow, I'm always under the belief I always want to make myself better. So over the years, I have tried everything to always improve my situation. I do not have all the answers. And when I hear people say, why do I need a coach? Why do I need a board? When it comes to a coach, I always laugh. Everyone in our industry, or a lot of them, they all golf. And they all go to the pro to help improve their game. But when it comes to this, I don't need to improve my game. Believe me, we all need to improve our games. So that's why we have someone like you, Bill. But when it came to the advisory board, again, it was just another layer of how can I get better? And I view it as it's 3 times a year. It's only a couple of hours that we're devoting. And once you get it down and start doing it on a regular basis, it becomes easier to organize. But what you get out of it is so much better. And let me just say this, my approach isn't the only approach. I actually like hearing Lucas and Mike talk about their approach. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just do it. It makes us better. And that's why Mike and Lucas and I are top producers in our broker dealer, because we've helped our clients. It's made us better. And Lucas, when Mike Smith decides he no longer wants to be a part of it, I'm coming to Texas. I'm making you do it. All right. Because you should keep on doing it. It's a good thing.
Good.
You don't give up something that's good. That's, the other thing our business has. Once something's really good, we stop and we try to look for something else that's better, we have this. I think it's a good thing for us to have. And I'm just glad we're both doing it. And I wish others would. I always encourage people to do these things. But again, they have the answers that we don't. So, that's just it.
And Lucas, I will make a point of coming down to help do them if necessary as well, because they are of significant value to both of your businesses. But Mike, there is some prep. I mean, Michael Fischer, there is some prep. I mean, you're updating the P&L at each meeting. You know, it's for the year or it's for year to date. But now that it's built, it's easier.
It's just once you have it, it's very easy to update things. It's not like I have to go back because I keep very good records and all that because of that training that I received from the board. But yeah, it's not that difficult. It's more what have we been doing and where do we see ourselves going and running that by the board. That's been so beneficial.
Okay. So we're coming to the close here. I think it's been an exceptional conversation, and I want to thank each of you, Michael, Lucas, and Mike, for your input. But I asked earlier to give some thought. Was there anything you heard from any of the others that prompted a question in your mind, or had something else you wanted to add?
I guess I would ask Michael, what do you feel in the area of our practice and trying to run a firm? What do you feel is the areas that the people you have on your board provided the most insight that was really an aha moment for you in building a stronger practice?
Well, when it came to really learning a lot more about the legal end of things, not just the practice, but helping my clients, because one area that I was totally unaware of are these ABLE accounts, where you can set up accounts to help people with special needs save money without it depriving them of their, ability to keep getting the Medicaid and Social Security benefits that they're entitled to. So it's things like that, Mike, that have helped me. And I'm just using that because that's a relatively new one for me. But there have been other things like that. 1031 exchanges for the realtor, all right? And just things that you know enough to be dangerous, but you don't know enough to be able to help. Use it, yes.
Use it. Yeah,
that's what's been very beneficial to me with my board in a lot of different ways. I'm just giving you two quick examples.
That's great.
Very good.
Lucas, do you have something? Or
no, I always also just thought about Michael, just the follow up in the visits that you have, and the engagement with the rest of the board members. What kind of prep on the front end do you ask of them, and then post meeting kind of follow up do you have?
Well, what we do is our first meeting of the year is I give them my business plan. So I go and we give them the agenda and we give them the notes from the previous meeting just to kind of refresh their memories. But the business plan, these folks actually read it. They look it over. They put notes in it. And usually our first meeting, which is in January, where we go over how did we do last year and where do we see ourselves going this year, they really pepper me by saying, do you really think you can achieve this, or are you fooling yourself by saying that? So in that regards, we do prepare them prior by giving them our financials and our agenda, and also our notes from our previous meeting, just so that they have, just to refresh them. Because remember, they see me 3 times a year, so they're not going to remember everything that we talk about.
Yeah.
And there have been times at our last meeting, for example, a couple years ago, I was talking about bringing on a Lucas to my firm, and I tried a couple times, and it really didn't come to fruition. Mike Smith's lucky to have you, Lucas, okay? And I'm sure he tells you that every day, and he should. But it's very hard to find a Lucas. And so they asked me, well, what happened to that? I said, it's there, but I'm not gonna focus on that right now. I have an agreement with our OSJ, Keystone Financial Management, that'll be my successor, but I'm always looking. And so, but they remembered, and they came back to town with that, saying, hey, why did we stop talking about that? So again, they have memories, and they do bring it up, which I kind of like, so that they kind of keep me thinking about those things as well.
Exceptional. Michael, did you have any thoughts or
I really
questions
like
for the other
the meeting
guys?
that you guys have. All right, because you bring in the I'm not gonna say the difficult clients, but the tough clients, the ones that are like the brutally honest. Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah.
The ones that ask really good questions.
Because I really did like that, and that might be something that I may incorporate in. It won't be an advisory board, but I'll call it something similar to that, and like maybe let's talk, or whatever. I'll make up something that makes it good because I kind of like that input as well. I want to know what my clients would like, but it's nice to have outside, but it's also nice to have inside track. What do you want to see? So I found that to be very interesting. And that's something I may borrow from you guys if that's okay.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So both of your firms are going down the path of doing legacy advising, legacy planning for clients. And it's something I'm a big believer in because our clientele is aging and we need to help them think about what their legacies are going to be because they're not spending any. Nobody else is having that type of conversation with them. And also we need, as business owners, you do, to meet with that next generation to, play defense against assets leaving when top clients pass away. But based on the feedback I had from you, Mike Smith, just a couple of weeks ago about your advisory board meeting, and Michael remembering back to the first time we rolled out legacy a couple of years ago, this idea of legacy planning to your board, there was people, the reaction was, we're going to need to understand that a lot better before we're ready to say, oh yeah, that's the greatest idea since sliced bread. Isn't that fair from both of your recollections? And that's valuable because they are consumers as well, in addition to being business owners and successful, clients and all that other stuff. So there's another example. And it really forced us to bear down on what we were doing and what we were developing. So Lucas Lawson, Mike Smith, Michael Fischer, gentlemen, I think this was an exceptional conversation. I want to thank each of you so much for your time. I want to thank you for your continued trust and confidence in Bill Rambo and what's next. I want to thank you for your...
No, you changed it.
It is what's next. It's what's next. It's what's next. It's what's next. It's what's next.
Better than has been.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we were thinking about who's next, but then anyway, it is what's next. But anyway, and in addition, you're all very good friends, and I thank you very much for your friendship and your kindness as well over the years. And we've had some fun doing what we're doing. So thank you to Lucas Lawson, Michael Smith, Michael Fischer, all very successful businessmen who know that maybe they don't know everything, which is one of the things that's really helped to propel their businesses to the heights they've achieved. Thanks, as always, to our producer, Oz, Brandon Kirst. Appreciate all your efforts, Brandon. For the rest of you, I am Bill Rambo, Senior Coach and Director at What's Next, Michael Fischer. Wishing everybody a great day. Thank you for stopping by and spending some time with us.
Thanks, Bill. Good
Have a great day, everybody.
Good seeing you. Nice seeing all you guys, Lucas and Mike. Great seeing you again.
You too.
You too, Michael.
Have a great one.